And this is Gus Murakami. They have the Kobo store down there. That was Paul and Craig's dad. He was in the 442nd.
Was that the guy we met when we were talking?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
His dad, right?
Yeah.
And then Mr. Hori's dad made these mochi makers, again recycled. That's an old barrel, and that was an old pickle crate from Japan. And then there was a kite. Kite masters came in here one time, and the kite master from Japan made me that kite with the rabbit.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. The rabbit jumps over the moon, not the cow.
Right. Well, usually the rabbit's on the moon making mochi.
Yeah.
So that's the shape of the spots on the moon is the rabbit making mochi
Wow.
with the kine and isu on the moon.
That's why I put the rabbit sitting up there on the mantle.
It's perfect.
And then the kite has the rabbits.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This was made in Minidoka. It was Hiro Nishimura. He was in military intelligence, and his family was in Minidoka. His father-in-law made this in Minidoka. And this is Kip Takuda. His dad had the first pharmacy here, and the weights are there. And somebody was talking about that yesterday. And this was Gordon Shoji. His dad was a kendo master. He was in I think this was Manzanar. I asked Gordon about this. But that family's still into flower arranging in Seattle. This Nakanishi Dairy Ranch, this was when I was talking about. It's Kent, Washington, 1926. And look at the herd of dairies. Huge, right? The dairy herd. And the house over there looks like something out of Dallas. And then all the sheds, the silos and the sheds, and all the people, the family. That's huge. That was made in Heart Mountain, that painting. And this is a Japanese-American directory of 1941. It's like a phone and address of all the cities on the West Coast. If somebody was living in Santa Cruz, you could look them up. And then this was the sign that I replicated on the bathhouse. That was the first time I saw this bathhouse. And Mrs. Uno came in, that's her, and she said, don't let people get mixed up with the Wright River Dairy and the Creamery. That was in Wright River. This was down here on Lane Street. And then Deb, the daughter, lives in the neighborhood, and she said, Jan, because I had the mother here, right? She said, my dad's in there too, and I'm like, you're kidding me. Her mother was a mail-order bride, but here's her dad. And anyway, this is where the Camera Club started, the main drug. And this is now the Good Bar. You go down there, and the safe is still there. It says Japanese Commercial Bank. By the way, the newspaper there, that's the publisher and editor at the time. The tall, skinny guy in the white, next to the lady in the white shirt, that's James Arima's grandfather. This was from the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Japan. And I'm not sure if that was a date on here. It was last year. Oh, 2020. That was. And that's the commendation I got. This was a different commendation from a Japanese consul general. But this was kind of mixed in there when they had the event at the consul general's house. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? And they said that 1 out of 72 in the world got that. I was one. I don't know what I did, or what it's for, or what it means, but that's it. I'm pretty impressed. And this is the floor where I patched in front of the cooler. I made that. I thought that paper was really important. And what else? Oh, this is baseball. In the United States, you play, is it Pogs? Yeah, it's Pogs, where you flip the cards. Yeah, is that what it is? You remember that? Well, in Japan, they do Menko. It's the same game, but a different name. Okay. And they had these hand-painted cards like this. These are all hand-painted. A lot of these guys are in the Baseball Hall of Fame in Japan. But they flip them like that.
Yeah, you take like a heavy one and you flip the paper ones.
You must have won a lot.
No, I wasn't good, but I had the game.
And this was, took me 18 years of my life for this one.
Oh, gee.
Finally got a plaque for it, but it says in there one of 2 bathhouses left, but they say it's the only one left in North America for sure. And this is Ludus's. She was the housekeeper. The sisters, Ludus and Catherine, that stayed with me. And thank you. And I noticed the tag on the
Stickers.
trunk. It's the NP Hotel, but it's her dad's name on the trunk. He had a like a boarding house in Wrangell, Alaska, and that's where the Catherine and Ludus were born. But anyhow, I took some things from the trunks. This I designed off of the slats in the window, and it came without a lid. And I thought, where's the top? So then I had to recreate all over again. And Marco Lucioni was doing cement work at the time. And so this is cement, and I designed it to have a round inch, 4-inch bullnose so that it wouldn't take away from the cabinet, and that it was warm, and so it's pewter with graphite and mocha, the color. And what else? Oh, the sign painters. The sign painters were here. And this was the original Maneki. If you see Maneki Sukiyaki, the cat, that was up the street there. This is the second location, original Maneki. And this is the hotel right here. So this is Fifth Avenue. This is where they want to put a tunnel. And this is Tomio Moriguchi's new development site. It's all that parking lot now. They were going by the street one day and I said, Tomio, I want to show you something. And the architects were with him. I said, look at the incredible roof line here, this line on this building. Can't you sort of infuse that into the new development somehow in honor of what was there? He said he remembered that building. But I think that's just incredible. And the glass, you see how they did all the glass. But anyway, this is across the street where the Rice Bowl is. Down below you'll see the Rice Bowl. I know stories about that building. In Sabota, Kent Valley, this is the space we're in is this one. You know, they had different things here. I didn't see this picture. When I was the one that put scaffolding up there and drilled out the stuff, whatever that stucco stuff is, cut it out of there. I didn't know you're supposed to have permits or hire people to do it. My dad didn't teach me that. He says, the job needs to be done, just do the job. Get the tools. So anyway, I did it. And then I saw this picture and I thought, oh my gosh, that's what's original. So you look up there next to the exit sign, that's part of, I saved one of the screens or two of the screens that were in the window. Couldn't let it go. And this was in the basement, that was in the basement. Started to take the tablecloths off of the tables. And I thought, no, this is too interesting, the ads and stuff. I was going to clean them all up, left that. And this is the wallpaper. And I did a digital photograph of there and took it down and went through 3 different steps to have the wallpaper made. And it's lightweight vinyl. And first of all, they mirrored the image. It took me 3 months to hire the guy to install it. And then he says, you're not going to believe it, they mirrored it. This is Paul Horiguchi. This is an art piece of all the old music of Japan. Yeah, beautiful dresser was downstairs. What I like about these dressers and all upstairs is very few of them have all the same knobs. That one's missing one, but there's 1, 2, 3 different kinds of knobs on there. But that's Tom from the Sons of Italy Club. You know, they have a new place in Berrien. I like that.
I think it's cool that you left the old
Wallpaper?
Yeah, that's kind of neat.
Well, that was the inspiration for the backsplash because I wanted something that was warm and,
Yeah, the same
you know, really.
pattern.
I was thinking about glass and all kinds of stuff. And then it had to be warm. You know, go with the wood and everything. And this is the Murakami, the radio. I was going to throw that away. And this is my uncle Paul, 1943, All City for the Rainiers. Love that baseball. And that's Mr. and Mrs. Fuji. They had the Gyokoken Cafe, which was across the street, which is now Fuji Sushi. But that nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Fuji. My friend Blaine's dad, this is, I don't know what date this was specifically. Oh, July 30, 66 maybe, in San Diego. I don't know what this was. But anyhow, Blaine's dad was very old when Blaine was born, but actually, he overturned the alien land law. And I saw this in their home in Carmel, in the foyer, and I said, Blaine, can I get a copy of that? His mother was still living there and stuff. But anyway, when she died, and it went to the law school there in Carmel, and then I finally got it. I just wanted a copy, but they sent me the original. And it says, his forthright opinion in validating the California alien land law in 1952, declaring this statute as outright racial discrimination, was particularly gratifying to Americans of Japanese ancestry, and he overturned it. Blaine wants to contribute everything that he has of his family to the museum.
Wow.
That his dad did.
They sent you the original?
Yeah,
Oh, gee.
that is it. And then after I was out with Karen looking for warehouse space and stuff, I said, Karen, are there any of the Fujis? I showed you the Fujis, right? Are there any of them still alive here in Seattle? And she said, yeah, I think there's some in Mercer Island. The next day I came in here, and there's these women standing here. I came up and I said, you know, if there's somebody there, family or something, just feel free to write on it, put your story there. And she said, yeah, the Fuji Hotel. And I'm like, what? Can I give you a hug? And she's left-handed, she's upside down, so that's how that started, the Fuji Hotel. And this was Jimmy Mirikitani, who did the Cats of Mirikitani. You know that story, right? When the towers went down. And Roger Shimomura had asked me if I would give a show for this old Nisei that was doing art on the streets there by New York. And I said, sure. But then he came in and he said, oh, the Wing Luke's going to pick it up. And I said, fine, they know how to do that. So then the towers that were hit, and there was some woman in New York that was shooting. She worked for somebody else doing videos, and she kept shooting this guy, this Jimmy Mirikitani. She brought him in her house in New York and still kept filming. It's an incredible documentary. He gets really bossy, you know. She'll go to a theater or something, come in at 1 in the morning or 2, and she'd say, where were you? Did you bring my brushes? Anyhow, whenever they come to Seattle, they'd stay here in the hotel. It took me about a week to get the ink out of this. The Smithsonian has 3 of his, the last I heard, yeah. But he did this in the room staying here. And they all would stay here. The filmer from Japan and Linda, who did that. And then this is Larry Matsuda. He's a poet. His books are down there at Kobo at Higo. This was his aunt and uncle. He made this collage, put this together. And A Cold Wind from Idaho. And this is Gail Dubrow. This was her book, Cento and 6th in Maine. This is all recycled wood. And then in designing this, there's a lot of pipes on the wall, so I built that out. So I didn't want to deal with any more pipes, but I built it out wide enough so I could get in there to fix something if I needed to. And then I could use it for storage, a storage closet too. And is anybody in here? No. This is a good piece. This was original. And I just made a frame to go over it. It says, wash your hands after using the toilet. Waste transferred to food is dangerous. Human waste transferred to food is dangerous. Seattle Department of Health, Public Health. City ordinance number or something or other.
Very cool.
Yeah. So just made the frame to go over it.
Great.
Oh, and this, Joe Hamanaka. I asked him one day, I said, Joe, what was down there by the downtowner? He said, I don't know, Jan. You'd have to ask somebody who lived down there. Everything we needed was within 2 blocks. Now, if everything you need is within 2 blocks, what would that do to parking or emissions or your legs? Yeah. And so he made this map for me of 2 blocks, or it's a little more than 2 blocks, but the Panama Hotel is right here. And at one time, there was over 8,500 families within a 5-block radius of this intersection. But then people started coming in. He put the names of the people that were running the shops, which I absolutely love. This map has become very popular. And I should probably take the original one away. And put something else. This is where the park is. Gyokoken. What are these? Chinese foods, Japanese owners, Chinese cooks. That's pretty funny. Anyhow, I think this is an incredible map, how people tell their stories. They write down, I think the first one, and he didn't write it, Shiga. You know, there's a Shiga Japanese store out on University Ave.
Okay.
And one of the relatives came in and he said, my grandfather had a store down here. And I said, where? He says, I don't know. And I said, well, what do you do? Here, sweater factory, Shiga. But they all write, and they say, oh, they're out of the way here. And I said, well, just put it up here.
Wow.
You know, because it kept going.
That is invaluable.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I should take it down, make a copy, and keep it going, like have an overlay. This is the kiddie corner. And I think there was weights that went through there. A dumbwaiter.
Did you design this as well?
Yeah, this is my table I made with Japanese joinery.
Wow.
And I went to Rhine Salvage and picked out beams. They were bigger, and then I took them to Obie Williams to have them planed off. They planed off too much, and so because I wanted them the 8 by 12. And then when I made it, and there was some guy down south of there that had an old mill, and I had him do the cuts on the other pieces that are underneath, the dowels and the beams and stuff, and so it's together with no nails. And then when I put it together, because it's like a puzzle, right? Somebody was down there, and I said, turn it with the hearts down, because when I was working at Wyckoff, and I worked with the big timbers, and with like ties, switch ties, if you turn them down so that when they bored the holes in them, it went on the top, so that they laid them on the tracks, the water repelled with the grain, right?
Okay.
So I kept saying, hearts down, and they said, it is down. So I think it's this one. Anyhow, one of them's crooked because they twisted it when they planed it. This is all from here. He was in the Seattle Camera Club. I think somebody erased some of this stuff. And Yosh, her son just came and signed this. Ricky, he became a Boeing engineer. But this one, she brought me this. She said she was 5 years old here in that float. This was all out here. In their business, they made all the mochi for the Northwest, and they started in 1889. Foundation. That's a long way from 1942, huh? And so and she said they just put it on the trains that go to Montana, Idaho, everywhere. And these were all floats out here. This is where the tractor went into the building.
Yeah.
And the beds are still there, same beds. And Linda Ando from the University of Washington, in fact, she gave me that red piece. She's been very, very strong in my support. And she came in here, she was down here one day. She was one that told me about the Seattle Camera Club. And she came down and she said, oh, this young lady, and she was like a young French Vietnamese student, and she said, sure, she found this article down there about her family. And I'm like, there's no articles down there. It's all photographs, right? There was just this one and that. So I came down here, and this is 1964. What does it say? Viet planes burn out rebel base, Saigon. And her mother and grandmother are in this story. What do you think the odds are that this young lady walked into this tea house in Seattle and found that? I asked her to sign this, and she wrote it. She was crying while she was writing it. She was just so overwhelmed. This is daughter and granddaughter. That was her. And pretty amazing, isn't it? Oh, here's the rice bowl. We're trying to get the chopsticks back. They should do the whole thing with the vaudeville lights. Would be way cool. They talk about lighting in a neighborhood. I think if they put back original lights like this, that lights up a neighborhood, and it's not saying public safety, it's saying culture and art.
Yeah.
Isn't that much more flavorful? Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got much more. And the same with the, what is that? The governor down there, they got these incredible lights. They should put them back. They had competition with the mushrooms. What are you waiting for, Mew Mew? I ask people about that. Where is it? Yeah, here it is. The matsutake mushroom. This one's bigger than the Victrola. See that? Pretty amazing, isn't it? Nobody's going to tell you where they found that.
Yeah.
And let's see what else in the pictures here. That Dee Goto, who you asked who's doing the stories, Efren asked about the stories. This is her family, the Goto family. Father born 1900. And she, I think this is who she's related to. And then when I wanted the pictures, at that time I didn't know about the Hotel Association. I just knew there were a lot of hotels. I didn't know there were 250 or how it came to be. So when I did this, I just picked pictures of hotels because I knew there were a lot of hotels. There's something, I don't know which came first, right? So there's all these hotels. And then there was that was a hotel, this was a hotel, that's a hotel. Anyway, there was a family from California, again, the Japanese American Museum of Seattle and Northwest, because they were here and then they went someplace else. So this family came up, they were having a reunion. This little lady came up and she said, "Oh, that's my husband." And then this beautiful young lady says, "It's my dad." And then another beautiful, tall young lady said, "Oh, it's my grandfather." So I got this and gave him a photo, a copy, made a copy of it for him. Anyway, when I first bought the building, that hardware store was there on Maynard and Jackson. Oh, well, it was a shoe store then. And then it became the hardware store. Huh. Anyhow, Tom has City Produce now. And I would just run over there and his dad would do anything. He'd fix the window for me and I'd have it back in the afternoon. And he was quite amazing. His wife taught, Rachel, she taught up at Seattle Central. And but Mark still has City Produce down here. This is an interesting building, the Drexel Hotel. Huh. You know how that happened? No. It's still there.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a Samus property. Larry at Gallery Framing, who did all the framing, he said it's because this was the building right here. This was the sidewalk here.
Okay.
And so it was the only one left in 1889, so they wanted to save it. So they built this one underneath it. Huh. It's two different buildings. And this one's all faced over, and I called him one time because I did Samus a favor one time, and I said, I want to see the inside of it. And they said that I could. I've never done it. What else is in here? Buster Simpson, one of my favorite Northwest artists, one of them. He does things all over the world, right? He's doing something for the waterfront now. I don't know what it is. I keep saying I'm going to find out, but I haven't found out yet. But Buster called. He had a retrospect at the Fry Museum, and he called me. He says, "Jan, I have a piece that I'll put on loan. There's no way I'd..." And he makes everything out of recycled materials, and it all has to do with the story of location and the recycled pieces, which I think is brilliant for art, right? You get it. It's easy to read. And he said, Buster Simpson, the distressed tin crane is a symbol of peace and civility under attack. The crane rests uncomfortably in an anti-nest. The folded origami crane references earlier atrocities of the Japanese internment into the history of the Panama Hotel and today's current immigration bans. So that's Buster's piece. Thank you, Buster. And more dolls, pianos. That's 1910, the same year as the building. This is a Murakami.
ABM?
Yeah, Murakami.
Oh, okay.
And it's got stuff in it. And this is what they used for suitcases at the turn of the century, 1900. And, but that is a Murakami piece. This is Mr. Ota, who bought the land with the alien land law in 1907. And it describes him as being of Mongolian race, born of Japanese parents in the Empire of Japan. It's really important for the culture to have the museum. It's got such strong, what do you think, the history here? Yeah. 1800s, huh? These are the light pieces from the upstairs. Mr. Hori took them all down because he said it was too hard to change a light bulb. Okay. And so he invented this thing on a broomstick. He put a Campbell's soup can and he lined it with an inner tube rubber. And he would just stand there and unscrew the light bulbs. I still have them in the office. I use them. I still use them. It's things like this. This would all be in the museum.
So it sounds like over the years there's been a big struggle onto how to define the Chinatown International District or whatever. Like it sounds like a lot of groups take different ownership or claim certain parts of it. And how has Japantown fitted? How has it kept its identity?
There wasn't much here. I mean, the Maneki's here and Tukashimbo, and over there it was always Japanese restaurants. In the Panama Hotel. Panama Hotel's never changed. And when I bought it, you know that story, right?
Oh, as far as him making sure they sold it to the right person?
Well, I guess the 14 years, but when I asked him, I was going back to Italy because I thought everything I had done was there. And I'd walk out the door and there's nothing here, right? So I saw Mr. Hori out there and he said, "Where you been, Jan?" I said, "I think I'm going back to Italy." And he says, "Oh, we're going to sell the building." Did I tell you this?
No.
Oh my gosh. And he said, "We're going to sell the building." And I thought, oh no, now there's going to be another one, right? And this building was so incredible. I mean, the baths, the trunks, the wood. I mean, it was just beautiful. Everything was so perfect. And so I saw him again and I asked him, I said, "How much do you want for the building, Mr. Hori?" And he told me, and I thought, that sounds reasonable. I guess I was still thinking in lira. It was still lira in Italy. I think it was 1,800 lira to $1. So what did I know what he said? I have no idea. And I've never been a bean counter, obviously, when Tet said to me about the money, and I said, "Well, it's not always about money, is it, Tet? It's never a bean counter." So he laughed. He said, "Well, make me an offer," and I just offered him what he wanted because I knew what he had gone through, that he was born here, he went to camp, he worked this building since 1938. Whatever he wanted, he deserved, right? He earned it. So I just offered him what he wanted, whatever terms, and so then he had me come in. Him and Mrs. Hori had me come in the building working for months. I'd follow him around in the boiler room, or Mrs. Hori up in the housekeeping, and in fact, she's up there now. Francesca, I need to go, but she, and then just working everything, the P-traps, the whatever it took, the sockets, the electricity. So I started to go to the bank, and nobody had talked to me. I thought, they just don't know how important this is. So then I just said, there's a lot of banks. I'll go to another one. So I just go to another bank and I get the same thing in a little different way. And I thought, well, that's okay too, because there's still a lot more banks out there. So I went and found, somebody said, "Go down to that bank and tell them what you want and see what they say." And I walked in and good banking protocol. I said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I want to buy the Panama Hotel." And he went, "They want to sell to you?" And I said, "Yeah." Yeah. And they said, "Well, fill out these papers and bring them back in 2 days." I ran out and filled them out, and I just said, "I'm going to show that this is still Japantown." So if you're asking about the difference and stuff. And I don't know what the other papers said, but I just said to Brooke the other day, those papers are still up there. I have them somewhere. I want to make that a poster. Because now it says Japantown on the street signs. Don't look.
Yeah.
What a look is that? You going to sleep?